weeks away, just a little over. Coach Ryan Billick, Jane Slater, and Kim Jones all on deck as we reset rosters in the NFC East. But we're going to get started with the top stories of the day with Tom Pelissero and Mike Garafolo as we take a look here at the latest headlines around the NFL. Hello, guys. All right, Tom and Mike, there seems to be a difference of opinion between the league and the players' union when it comes to participation in off-season voluntary workouts. Tom, what's happening here?
Well, MJ, Broncos and Seahawks players became the first two groups today to announce they will not show up for in-person voluntary workouts this spring, citing in part ongoing concerns related to COVID-19. Now, this follows urging from the NFLPA, which has been pushing for another all-virtual offseason like a year ago. The union told players in a call on Friday and reiterated in a memo today that that push for the all-virtual offseason continues, and it's the recommendation from their medical experts that players not show up for any voluntary work. I can tell you that other teams and their players have also been having calls. Some of those, I'm told, have been heated. You can expect there are going to be some more of these announcements in the coming days, but we do not yet know what exactly, if anything, players are boycotting. Off-season programs are scheduled to begin on Monday, but conversations ongoing between the NFL and the NFLPA over the structure of the offseason. One league proposal would have the players not showing up in person for the first 2 weeks of the program. In-person activities beginning not until May. Remember, everything is voluntary, Mike, except for that June minicamp prior to training camp. It also is worth mentioning that some players already have been in team facilities working out on their own.
Now, the players would tell you that the quality of play did not suffer last year when they had a virtual offseason program. Some coaches would probably disagree. I know I had this conversation with Sean O'Hara when we were on Good Morning Football a couple of weeks ago. He thinks that the technique was not as strong for offensive linemen, and I've heard that from some offensive linemen as well. But a lot of players are saying the quality of play, the product itself was totally fine, and look how many rookies contributed as well. So that's why they're making this push, and the hope is that the league just relents and says, okay, we'll go virtual once again here, because it could get a little awkward for some guys who have big workout bonuses tied to being in attendance in the spring. Let's go right to the Broncos. Von Miller's got one for $500,000. Now, I think he'll be okay if he punts on that, but it's still a lot of money for him to give up. And some other guys, it's a bigger chunk of what they make. The Packers often incentivize players to show up for spring workouts with workout bonuses, over $5 million total in bonuses for Green Bay players.
All right, that's a lot to take in there, guys, but we have another sort of logistical situation to talk about here, too, because the league sent out a note to teams about vaccine requirements for team employees. What are the details on that, Tom?
That's right, MJ. The NFL sent several updates regarding vaccines to clubs today. Among them, the league directed clubs to set up vaccination sites at their facilities or their stadiums to cover team staff members, players, as well as eligible family members. Now, the NFL and the NFLPA have said publicly players will not be required to take a vaccine in order to participate, but there was also a key line in this saying that anyone in terms of staff who is not vaccinated will not be eligible to have Tier 1 or Tier 2 status unless they have a valid medical or religious reason. What that means? Well, take coaches. They are all in Tier 1. If they're not vaccinated, Mike, they cannot be on the field.
Now, the players themselves, there is a lot of skepticism still amongst them with regard to the vaccines. If they don't take it, they're going to have to test daily. They'll have to wear a mask everywhere, and they won't be treated in the same way as those who are vaccinated. So perhaps they could be put on the shelf, even if they're a close contact. All this stuff would have to be worked out. And I spoke to a team executive today who said he had conversations with a few players recently who said that they're still a little skeptical when it comes to the vaccine. Well, today's memo and everything that's going to come forward could change a lot of their minds, because they'll have to go through a lot of other protocols that vaccinated players will not have to go through, MJ.
Yeah, just a very real reminder that we are still in the middle of a pandemic. All right, guys, thank you. And we are 16 days from the 2021 NFL Draft. It's history in the making as the future stars of the NFL take the stage live from Cleveland. The 2021 NFL Draft presented by Verizon starts Thursday, April 29th in prime time, right here on NFL Network, ABC, and ESPN. Then you can watch a special Total Access right after. And one of the names we expect to hear called on Thursday is Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields. Daniel Jeremiah has him going 7th to the Lions in his latest mock draft. Fields is having his second pro day tomorrow. The 49ers will be there, presumably looking for a QB to pick with that third selection. While we're on this topic, let's welcome in our NFL draft expert, Daniel Jeremiah, and of course, Coach Brian Billick here with us. DJ, why is Justin Fields having this second pro day tomorrow?
Well, it's unique in the year that we're in where you can't do these private workouts. So truthfully, this is like a semi-private workout that's being dressed up as a second pro day. There's only going to be a few teams there that are quarterback-needy teams, those teams picking in the top of the draft, the Niners being one of them. And I used this reference a little bit earlier. Coach will appreciate it because it'll probably date both of us, but it's going to be like a jukebox. Whatever song that the 49ers want to hear, Justin Fields is going to play that tune. So that's what we're going to get here at this workout. And when I use the analogy, I realized that we don't have jukeboxes anymore and nobody even knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, this is something that I don't know that the workout tomorrow is going to change a lot, but it is just kind of checking the box. It gives the 49ers a chance to interact directly. That's really what most of these workouts are about now. DJ's exactly right. The teams need their touches, so to speak. And for a guy, particularly if you're going to take a quarterback this high, you've already looked at the film. You probably already have your board set in that regard, but you want that final check of the box just to get a sense of it. For Justin Fields, it's all about can he indeed fit within the pocket and the style of play that the 49ers, or anybody for that matter, wants to work. He's good outside the pocket, clearly, but it's his ability inside the pocket that people have to look at to decide if they're going to take him as a top 10 pick.
I mean, Coach, you literally wrote the book when it comes to selecting quarterbacks here. You have it right behind you. A little plug for Coach there. Let's talk about some other teams here, though. The Falcons have the number 4 overall pick, and they have Matt Ryan, their coach. GM Terry Fontenot was asked about whether they'll take a quarterback with that selection. He went and said that, look, it's a good time to go to QBs, and the time is now to do it. DJ, though, do you think that they should go QB at number 4?
Oh, for me, MJ, to me, I'm looking at that situation with Atlanta, and I'm saying I've got going to be a 36-year-old quarterback. If I think I can win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years with Matt Ryan, I get it. Hold off on taking one. But in my opinion, I don't think they're there. So I'm going to get the next quarterback who's going to be ready to take over for Matt Ryan. I don't think you can afford to pass on that opportunity, provided you have the grades to take him there with that 4th overall pick. To me, I think this is a little bit of a reset. New general manager, new head coach. That usually comes with finding the next quarterback.
Yeah, if it is, I'm fine with that, but then let Matt Ryan go. We've seen this picture before, and it's not a pretty one. Yeah, you can say, okay, look what they did in Green Bay, and that Green Bay did. They brought in Bryce Jordan and sat him in behind Aaron Rodgers, and then you look at what Pat Mahomes set in between Alex Smith. Well, in Kansas City. Well, those were 2 good football teams. Atlanta's not a good football team. So if you take one of these quarterbacks, he's going to play this year. And Matt Ryan, let's remember, he's led the league in completions over the last 2 years, over 65%, 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions on a bad football team. Matt Ryan can still play. So if you want to make this move and go on, I'm all good with that. Typically, that's a good move for a first-year head coach. Align yourself with the quarterback that's going to be long-term. But go ahead and get Matt Ryan out of there and give him a chance. Trade him, get some value for him, let him go someplace else. Otherwise, Matt Ryan can win for you. Now, like GJ says, you're going to win a Super Bowl the next couple of years? No. But are you going to do it with the rookie quarterback? No. They're not that good a football team. So, yeah, I have no problem with them taking the quarterback. I don't like it if they're going to do it and try to keep.
You're back with Coach Billick, and joining us now, Jane Slater from Dallas. Jane, the Cowboys made some moves in free agency, but it's on to the draft now. There's been a lot of rumors, though, about what they'll do with that 10th overall pick. What do you think they're actually going to do there?
Well, it's hard to say because last year we talked about the fact, like this year, they needed defense, defense, defense. Now, they went out and got 10 free agents signed, and 6 of those were defense, but that's not going to fully address all of the issues they have on that side of the ball. Although I will point out that if that tight end, Kyle Pitts from Florida, happened to be there, Jerry Jones has made no secret to a lot of folks that he is enamored with him. But the Cowboys picking at 10 would likely have to move up if they wanted that to happen, or in this case, maybe they get lucky like last year. Like I said, Caleb Chase was a guy we heard a lot about. They said that was the guy they were picking, but they just couldn't help themselves when CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver from OU, fell to them at 17. Sort of an embarrassment of riches when you consider they had Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup, but still a move they say they don't regret. Now, if they go the traditional route and let's say they go and address the cornerback position, which is what they absolutely need to do, how about Patrick Surtain out of Alabama? He would be a nice complimentary piece for the Cowboys, given the fact that they got Trayvon Diggs last year in the second round. They felt really good about his development. These two were former teammates, and it would certainly help bolster that secondary that's getting a revamp.
Yeah, how about, I'm going with, how about adding, we just saw a healthy Dak Prescott, or appears to be healthy Dak Prescott. How about we add a wide receiver like Devontae Smith? The interesting thing in the NFC East is that because of this flush of quarterbacks that's coming up early, there's going to be some top 5 talent that gets pushed back to 10, 11, 12, where this NFC East is, with the exception of Washington at 19. So there's going to be some good top 5 talent that gets pushed back. I don't know if it'll be the tight end, but clearly one of those receivers, Dante Smith, would be a great addition to add to bring Dak Prescott back and get that offense humming like it was before.
Yeah, and I would point out, too, that keep in mind they've got 10 picks in the draft this year, thanks to some compensatory picks, and that is second most. Philly's got 11, so maybe they package and wheel and deal, and maybe they get creative this year. But again, I would point out that they need to address a lot of things on the defensive side of the ball. And just a couple of names to throw out there for you. We were at Texas's Pro Day, Joseph Osai. We saw the Cowboys staff there. They were very excited about him. Another guy to keep an eye on, Cowboys were also keeping a close eye on him, is the safety out of TCU, Trayvon Merrick. And then another guy that I was a huge fan of, and when we talk about his wingspan, this guy is off the charts. It is Houston defensive lineman Peyton Turner. Incredibly charismatic when you get to know him and get to meet him, and certainly somebody that the Cowboys have been interested in. We'll see how this thing all shakes out. You can never really expect what they're going to do. Of course, they have that pick in the second round at 44, I believe. But again, they've got 10 picks. Maybe they get a little creative.
I'm never against creativity. And as we all know, in the draft, pretty much expect the unexpected. But I'm really looking for clarity this season in Dallas. Dak back healthy and a more focused defense, perhaps. All right, Jane, thank you. Meantime, in Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts went from day 2 draft pick to the Eagles QB1 in less than a year. His teammate, Lane Johnson, said Hurts already acts like a veteran, and he's waiting to see what he can do with his versatility for a full season. Hurts' promising play last year set a complete overhaul for the Eagles now. So here's a look at what the Eagles have done so far this offseason. They added Joe Flacco at QB in that QB room as well. They traded Carson Wentz and hired Nick Sirianni as the head coach there. A lot going on in Philly, no doubt. As for the draft owner, Jeffrey Lurie, says he knows he and everyone else in the building, they need to be on their game.
I have to be much more in-depth and complex about the analysis. Luckily for me, I sit there and I get to see exactly what took place and takes place. And, maybe someday I'll write a book about it, but you can't really talk publicly about what could have been and all that. There were mistakes made, and they have to be improved, corrected, and, I expect us to have that success.
All right, Coach still with us here. We're bringing in Mike Garafolo and Daniel Jeremiah to the party. DJ, I'll start with you here. The Eagles have 11 draft picks, the most in the draft. What's their strategy here?
Well, I think everybody's looking on offense with Jalen Hurts. I'm actually looking on the other side of the ball, this defense. They need to get younger. They need to get more athletic. You look at the cornerback position, I think there's a chance to see the Cowboys go with the corner. The Eagles could follow up with the corner as well. Somebody to go opposite of Darius Slay. And then I also look at that defensive front. Look, Sweat's a good young player. They like him a lot, and Josh Sweat. Brandon Graham's getting a little bit older, so finding another young edge rusher to kind of work into the mix there, I think that'll be another priority for the Eagles as well.
Wide receiver, cornerback, and pass rush up front. These are the areas that they would like to bolster for the long term. And they looked at this draft, and I heard Coach mention it a couple of minutes ago, with all the quarterback talent that's going to go up top, that's going to push some of this other talent deeper into the top 10 and then right around to the Eagles at 12. That's why they made the move from 6 to 12. They said there's a block of players there that we would be comfortable with, and we pick up a first-round pick for next year along the way. So those positions of need, they basically get to sit there and see, is Surtain going to fall to them? Maybe Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith both available at the receiver position. The Eagles feel like they're sitting in a nice spot with that block of talent they expect to come to them.
And plenty of things to check off the list, as you mentioned, Mike G. All right, Coach, last year, Jalen Hurts, he was preparing for the draft. Now he's set to be the Eagles' starting quarterback. So how do they really find success now with Jalen under center?
Well, they've got to commit to that style of play. And I scratched my head a little bit with the signing of Joe Flacco because, well, what offense are you going to run? Joe Flacco can't do what Jalen Hurts does, and Jalen Hurts can't do what Joe Flacco does. The key to the Baltimore Ravens, once they established Lamar Jackson at the tail end of his rookie season, that he was going to be the guy, they were all in with everything that he represented. If he wants to run the ball 150 times, they're all in. I'm not sure what offensively they're going to do to craft to have Jalen Hurts as the starter. And oh, by the way, if he gets hurt or something goes wrong, we put in Joe Flacco. So I hope they commit to what they have to do to have Jalen Hurts be their quarterback, which is run the ball outside, limit some of the things they're doing within the pocket. Yeah, you want to add good athletes, no question about it. But if they try to split hairs too much in terms of, well, maybe this, maybe that, I'll be concerned with how good they're going to be.
Yeah, no question, Coach. I mean, Jalen Hurts needed offensive help. We're talking yesterday. Their top receiver in Philly last season was Travis Fulgham, who ranked 82nd in the NFL at receiving yards. No disrespect, but still tons to address there in Philly. All right. Thank you, guys. It is an NFC East run of picks, and those start at 10 with the Cowboys, 11 with the Giants, and 12 with the Eagles. The Washington football team's first pick is 19. You can see it all on Thursday, April 29th in primetime on NFL Network, ABC, and ESPN. It's the 2021 NFL Draft presented by Verizon. Right now, though, you are watching NFL Total Access. I'm MJ Acosta-Ruiz, and I think I better prepare you for a question that's about to get asked a lot. So here it goes. Are the Bucs about to draft Tom Brady's replacement? Coming up, I am here for the Jay-Z soundtrack. A little something special, taking full advantage of my time here with Daniel Jeremiah today. I have a lot of draft questions for you, going far beyond those first couple of picks. All right, DJ, so let's just get it rolling, because Bruce Arians said he would not be against drafting a quarterback. Should they take one, though, with that 32nd pick?
No, absolutely not. And this goes, we were talking about the Falcons earlier saying, yeah, they should because they're not a Super Bowl caliber team right now. Get the next guy. Look, they brought all those guys back in Tampa so that they can make one more run at this thing, maybe for the next 2 years. So every decision should be about maximizing that opportunity. The future will take care of itself. You're trying to hunt down 1 or 2 more rings if you're Jason Light, Bruce Arians, and the Tampa Bay Bucs right now. Don't take a quarterback.
Yeah, no question. I mean, they retained that entire squad. By the way, they had one free agent signing, Gio Bernard, a pass-catching back who was right on brand with what Tom Brady would love. All right, we know the quarterbacks are going to fly off the board right away, DJ. But is there another trend that you will see going down on draft night?
Yeah, let's keep an eye on picks about 10 to 20 in that range. I think there are a lot of offensive line needy teams in that range, so we could see a run. I'm talking about you might see 5, 6 guys go off the board between picks 10 and picks 20. It's just going to be a nice run on it. So you also have some teams then that are picking in the 20s that have a needed offensive line as well. So you could see some teams trading up into those spots. So you look at 14, 15, 16, 17, that range. I think you're going to see some trade movement there as teams come up to go after these offensive linemen they so desperately need.
Yeah, lots of quarterbacks wanting to stay nice and clean jersey-wise this season. All right, finally, who are some late first-round picks that could be big difference makers?
Well, they're getting a chance to go to good football teams, so you start there. But a couple guys I think are real polished, smooth football players. Greg Newsome, corner out of Northwestern. Really, the only question on him, MJ, was just kind of his top-end pure speed. Well, he goes and rips off a high 4.3 at his pro day. The ball skills are there. You can see that very easily. He's a big, fluid athlete. So you've got every box kind of checked as he goes through the process. He'll have an impact. And then I'll give you another one here. When you look at Jamin Davis, the linebacker from Kentucky, who's one of my favorite players in the whole draft. If you want linebackers that can run, cover, and hit, that's exactly what he does. Really kind of his first full year as a starter this year and just blossom. So as good as he was and as athletic as he is, MJ, I think his best football is ahead of him. So if you're a team like the Cleveland Browns picking in the bottom of round 1, you got a darn good team. You plug this guy in the middle of your defense, he's going to make a big-time difference there in the bottom of the first round.
Oh, that is a glowing review, DJ. All right. Well, don't get mad at me, but you give me an inch and I'll take a foot, so I'm going to sneak one more in here for you, DJ. Do you see any other huge trades happening before we get to April 29th in Cleveland?
I don't think so. I think we've seen all this quarterback movement, and I think now teams are going to sit back and wait and see what happens. That 4th pick with Atlanta would be the trade spot, but I think some of those teams are going to wait and see what San Francisco does at number 3 before they decide they want to part with a bunch of capital to go up to number 4. So I would anticipate we don't see a lot of action, and hopefully once the draft gets here, we get in Cleveland, we get settled in, and then the fun starts.
Oh, yeah, the unpredictability where DJ absolutely does not sleep. Our draft expert, Daniel Jeremiah, I work for the football fans and all of their draft questions, so thank you, DJ, for indulging me. All right, join Daniel, Rich, and the rest of the NFL draft team for the 2021 NFL Draft. It's history in the making as the future stars of the NFL take the stage live from Cleveland. The 2021 NFL Draft, presented by Verizon, starts in less than 3 weeks, Thursday, April 29th, in primetime, right here on NFL Network, ABC, and ESPN. Now, back in 2012, it was the Seahawks selecting Russell Wilson in the 3rd round. Up until recently, it seemed as though Seattle might be electing to go in a different direction. Russ's very public frustrations perhaps leading to some signings and an extension for Tyler Lockett.
I didn't really talk to Russ about it, but I think at the end of the day, a lot of that, it's over there on his side. That doesn't really have anything to do with me. I think a lot of the guys on the inside that work within the Seahawks did a great job to have those conversations with players and stuff to kind of let them know what's the difference between what's actually been said. For us, though, I think, the Seahawks did a great job being able to capture that so that as a team we can stay united.
All right, Coach Billick still with me here. And Coach, Tyler Lockett here saying all is well, don't worry about it. But I don't know how many people really had an unhappy Russell Wilson there on their 2021 bingo card of events, but hey, here we are. Reports, of course, coming in that he really wanted more protection up front. The Seahawks did not address that in free agency. Can they make Russell Wilson happy through the draft?
Yeah, they can, obviously, because they can address some of the things. The offensive line would be a great place to do it. This one I'm scratching my head a little bit, because obviously Russell Wilson is a dominant player. And we've heard this before from, say, Tom Brady in New England. There's times during given years going, geez, I could use a little help. I could use a better offensive line. How about some receivers? And that's kind of the extent of it. This just keeps going on and on. I don't know if Russell Wilson thinks he's in the NBA and it's LeBron James, but if I'm the Seahawks, it's, look, you're our lead dog here. Fine. You want to come in and have a voice? We'd love to have you do that. But you're not going to parachute in with, gee, I like this guy, I like that guy. You come into the offense, you grind the film, you sit through these mind-numbing meetings where we're reading about the players, and you give us some input, but just don't do it from afar and do a drive-by. So I'm still a little confused as to what Russell Wilson wants and where he is with this, but certainly in the draft, they will want to effectively protect him with the offensive line, maybe give him some receivers. But they have some needs on defense as well. And their mentality can be, look, we can make us a better team and we can make your job easier if we take some defensive guys. So I don't know where this thing goes, and I'm not sure what Russell Wilson wants.
I hear you, Coach. Definitely a completely different league. The structure is totally different. But I will say this. It's not like Russell's concerns aren't valid, right? He was the most sacked QB since he entered the league in 2012. In that span, he's been sacked 69 times more than the next QB in that metric. So no question they need to take care of that. But Seahawks, they have their work cut out for them because their first pick isn't until round 2. Pick number what? 56. All right, Coach. Thank you. Let's take a look at the latest headlines throughout the NFL. James Conner, he signed a one-year deal with the Cardinals. The Pro Bowl running back said he's excited to join a team that's on the rise. Next, for his recent surgery in turf toe, he says, yeah, no more issues on that moving forward. The NFL's message on vaccinations, get them. Clubs were informed today that Tier 1 and 2 employees are expected to be vaccinated unless they have an underlying medical condition or religious reasons for not doing so. The league is working with the Players Association to vaccinate players as well. And now to a story that has many people across the country, especially in the Black community, with very heavy hearts. The Vikings joined other Minnesota sports teams to react to the fatal police shooting of Daunte Wright. The team issued a statement Monday night saying, in part, we are heartbroken by the senseless killing of Daunte Wright. The avoidable situation is yet another tragic reminder of the drastic need for change in law enforcement, training, and police relations, specifically in the Black community. Our hearts go out to Mr. Wright's family and friends and all those who are hurting in our community. Former Seahawks receiver Doug Baldwin captured the feelings of many with his tweet, quote, if you don't know the difference between a taser and a gun in your hand, then you should not be a police officer. Marcus Lattimore added, when you're obsessed with power, you have no conscience. The NFL is committed to supporting change and helping communities. For more on the efforts by players, clubs, and the league to...
He gets up, he just got tired, but he's going back to the huddle, and he couldn't get his shoe on right. Coach is like, let's get in the game. Now, I play special team stuff. This is my first time. Oh, shoot. Oh, let me get right. I'm rookie. Marie's coming off the field, I'm going in. And I go in, I give him a little foul, go in, I'm nervous, I hear the play, and boom, it's an outside zone. Blue Eddie said, Hug, get the ball. 30-yard touchdown, first time. Oh. Hey, so I'm beating my chest, I'm screaming and everything. Marie started spatting. His shoe never fell off again.
Scan the QR code on the screen right now for the latest episode of Total Access, The Locker Room. Like us and subscribe. New episodes every Wednesday and Friday on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
All right, a trip back in time there, but here's what the Giants have been up to this offseason. Some notable additions here: wide receiver Kenny Golladay, tight end Kyle Rudolph. Of course, they extended Leonard Williams to a 3-year, $63 million contract. And let's not forget, Saquon Barkley will be returning from that ACL injury. For more on the NFC East roster reset, let's check in with our friends from PFF.
The NFC East in 2020 was a punchline for much of the season, with the Washington football team eventually stumbling over the line in first place to host a playoff game. But did any of their rivals do enough to close the gap this year?
I'm tired of the losing.
The New York Giants made the biggest splash acquisitions of free agency, spending big on Kenny Golladay at receiver as well as Adoree Jackson at cornerback, each of whom has the talent at a value position to make a real impact on the team's overall fortunes.
Oh, Kenny Golladay, you want something?
Golladay was one of the marquee names available in free agency, earning PFF grades of at least 79.9 in each of the last 3 seasons with the Lions. Still just 27 years old, Golladay is a contested catch monster, and in one game last season had 6 receptions for 114 yards, each of which was a spectacular contested catch, earning him a PFF game grade above 90 that day. Golladay should move the needle for Daniel Jones in a big way. The team also rolled the dice that there's still a role in the NFL for John Ross and his 4.24 40 speed that we just have yet to see, which is always a gamble worth taking. Adoree Jackson is another risk at cornerback given his recent
Time Penn State grad. I promise you I am not including Micah because of his college. I am including him because he is very much still under consideration at 11 for the Giants.
But I'm never mad at the Penn State pride with you, Kim, but I know that your assessments, listen, if it's Kim making them, take them to the bank. All right, Kim Jones, thank you. And the countdown to the 2021 NFL Draft